the good life, full of fun.
Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Exciting day today. I'm going to tell you, today is like total Italiano day, and let me tell you why. We're going to make stuffed shells with a recipe that I used to get from my mom and dad. Awesome. And real excited. I got a lot of recipes out here for you. They're real simple, delicious, something that you can prep ahead of time. You can throw it in the refrigerator, certainly throw it in the freezer, though it's not ideal. They're going to take about 30-35 minutes to cook, and it's just a great meal to lay down our dish, to lay right down in the middle of the table with your family surrounding. Absolutely delicious. So we're going to get started with that. Before I do, though, I just want to do a shout out to Tim Hughes. He does Casanova cut block, and a lot of the stuff you see in my kitchen here is actually from his shop, but that's from a cherry tree right in our local village that he gave me as a gift. So just want to give a shout out to Tim Hughes. Thank you so much for that. All right, so that being said, I want to show you just a couple little tricks, a way to add a little flavor to your stuffed shells, set them apart, if you will, and they're just going to be absolutely delicious. And a little old Italy, a little old country Italy with it. So that being said, we got 2 pounds of ricotta cheese, and one of the things I want to certainly share with everybody, sometimes when you make stuffed shells that get watery, that's often the result of having a lot of water content in your ricotta cheese. So you're going to take 2 pounds. I use a whole milk ricotta natural, which is basically a milk, vinegar, and salt. That's essentially all it has. So what I did is I set this here for a couple hours, and if you can see, there's a little bit of water in there, probably, you know, 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of water. So that means the shell, as it cooks and it gives out some of its water, it won't get all wet and soggy in the bottom. So that's nice little trick to share with you. Okay, so 2 cups of ricotta cheese, and I'm going to set that right here. And then I've got some parsley, and that's going to just be for dressing our dish. Okay, so some fresh parsley. You're going to want a small clove of garlic. We're going to want a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of rosemary, 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, and 1/2 teaspoon of basil. We're going to want a 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg. That's going to give it that little sidestep. But one of the things you'll notice when you go to Italy, especially in the older areas of Italy, south of Rome, they're always going to use a nutmeg in a cheese, especially ricotta cheese. And it just, again, not enough to where you taste like, wow, there's nutmeg in there, but it adds that extra little flavor. It gives a little bit more depth to your cheese. We're going to use 2 eggs, room temperature ideally, and then we're going to use a half of a teaspoon, not a tablespoon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right, and then I've got in here about 1/4 to 1/3 cup of olive oil. So what I want to show you how to do, a couple of little, I say tricks, a couple of suggestions, again, to really add some depth of flavor to your stuffed shell. So I'm going to put this right over here, and I'm going to get that warm, and if I turn the right knob, it'll help. Here you go. Now again, we don't want to fry anything that we put in there, but we certainly want to cook it. We want to warm it up. Okay, guys. So I've got the oil going. Now remember, we got about 1/3 cup of olive oil in here. We do not want to fry anything. Okay, so you want to keep it really low on a simmer. And sometimes if you have a stove that doesn't really drop it, you don't have to put the pot or pan all the way over the heat. Just bring it off to the side. And again, it's a nice way to kind of simmer something without using that full heat. One of the important ingredients that I forgot to share with you, one of the main ingredients, are going to be our shells. So I've got these cooking. These are almost done. They are about 1 pound of shell. So you're going to get asked for the jumbo shell. Obviously, semolina flour are going to be your better ones. Okay. So while these finish up, and then we're going to strain these here in a minute, I'm going to heat up the oil, and then as the oil heats, I'm going to put almost all the ingredients to flavor the ricotta in there. What that's going to do is that the heat of the oil, again, it's not going to fry it, it's going to bring that flavor out. It's going to cook the garlic down, so it's going to take that sharp bite out of the garlic, if you will, so it gives it a nice roasted flavor. And then when I take that, let it cool, and incorporate it within the cheese, gives you a much better flavor. Okay? And again, most people, and I'm certainly not trying to knock it, but most people, what they do is they take the ricotta cheese, which is usually filled with water, they put some flavoring in there, and they'll put some ricotta cheese in there, and they just flavor it up, and it just doesn't give you the depth. Again, when you make these, and I think of my grandmother certainly, but my parents, when they would make those, it would always have a nice deep flavor within the cheese. So what you're going to want to do is you want to break up the curd of the ricotta cheese a little bit, and again, this is about room temperature, and again, this is the whole milk, and I'm going to have to strain those shells in a minute. That'd be great. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sprinkle my nutmeg. Okay, I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put my salt right in there. Okay, got a half of a teaspoon of salt. Now that's a sea salt. That's that French sea salt. What's nice about it, it's not as salty as you will if you get a refined. Now I always take the egg, and I'm always going to, you know, my opinion is always mix the egg first. So I got 2 eggs in there, they're room temperature. And once they're mixed really well, then I'm going to put those in the cheese, okay? Now as the oil's heating, that's beautiful. I'm going to stir that up. Whoa, I'm splattering. And you're just going to mix that up. We've got the Sounds of Frank Sinatra, Nothing But the Best album, 1952 Capitol Records, in case you guys are wondering, for those fans out there. And there you go. So just mix that up. And that's going to give it, what's nice about that is it gives it, which you'll always remember from my dad's kitchen, is you're going to get like a yellow tinge there, which is great. Now the egg is going to give it like a solid base, so as it cooks, it'll certainly give it a flavor, and then it also gives it a little bit of a body. Oh, these smell good, I can tell you already. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to throw in there is my garlic. And I'll tell you straight out, if you put, again, in this case, you're not even really trying to brown it, but if you put garlic or onion or something in oil, it immediately starts to fry. Get it off the heat immediately. Because again, you don't want to fry it. Okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to strain it. Now, one of the things you can do is just a little bit of a tip. You want to stop the cooking process as fast as possible, because if you cook them too much, what'll happen is they'll actually get soggy, and you're going to lose a shell or two here. So don't blast the water on the shell because it'll ruin the shell. And what this does is this just allows it to get nice and cool, stops the cooking process. Okay, and again, you want to be gentle because you don't want to ruin all your shells. Okay, I'm probably going to lose about 10% here, maybe more. Okay, there's going to be water in the shell, so just kind of wiggle it around. There you go. All right, beautiful. Okay, so I got my shells over there. We got the oil going, and I've got a little sauce that we made here a while back. Okay, so I got the sauce, and I'm not going to really need to heat it up, right? Because the sauce is going to be placed on as a bed for the shells. Okay, so that's cooking down right through. And again, whoop, and it's not quite where I want it. Okay, so I'm going to put it back on the heat. But again, I don't want to fry it. One of the things I'll always do, you can get a mincer for your garlic, but as it cooks or warms up, I just take the back of a spoon, kind of smush it, because what we're really trying to do here is we're trying to flavor the oil. We're not trying to give you a chunk of garlic in your dish, okay? So what this will do is it'll certainly give you that nice roasted or caramelized flavor of the garlic, and then that gets infused in the oil. So it gives that oil a nice flavor to it. And then again, we're gonna put our oregano and thyme and basil all within the in the oil, and that's going to allow it to draw out some more of its flavors. Okay, and again, you don't want to put it in hot because it'll take away from the flavor. And I don't want to put nutmeg in there because nutmeg does not do well with heat. Almost where we want it, and then like I said, we've got some sauce over here. We're going to just keep it cool. We're going to ladle that into the bottom of our pan. We're going to set our oven about 350 degrees. It takes about 30-35 minutes, okay? Now essentially everything's already cooked, so we don't need anything else to cook it. We'll always top it with, which I'll bring out of the fridge here in a little bit, but we'll always top it with a heavy, what I like to do anyways, is a heavy Parmesan and ricotta cheese. So. Now some people mix it in the cheese, which I'm not saying is a bad idea, but what I always like to do is put it on top, so you're going to get it. And this is just on the verge to brown. So I'm going to pull that off, okay? And I'm just going to set it right over here for a minute and let it cool. Oh, so you can smell it now. Oh, that's beautiful. That is just absolutely delicious. You know, I'll tell you, I don't know about you guys, but when you walk into the kitchen and you've got the smell of garlic, and olive oil, and cheese, you know, it just brings me right back to that childhood when I was with my grandmother and my grandfather and my dad, especially down the restaurant. We'd always go down in the morning and prep. So a lot of times I'd go down even before I went to school. So I prepped the kitchen, often put turkeys and prime rib or what have you in the oven so that it would be ready for the afternoon lunch. So great memories, great times. All right, so this is starting to cool. So now what I'm gonna do is, again, I got a half a teaspoon of basil, I got a half a teaspoon of oregano, I got a quarter teaspoon of rosemary, I got a quarter teaspoon of thyme. Boy, talk about some really nice flavor. Okay, almost there. There you go. So set that in there. Now again, that's nice and warm. What that's gonna do is that's gonna pull the flavors, it's gonna pull the oils out of them. And boy, that smells good. So I'm just going to stir it a little bit more. Again, it's not really cooking right now, if you will, but it's pulling it all out. It's going to infuse the flavor within the olive oil. Oh, that's nice. And then I'll probably take about a third to a half of a cup of Parmesan and Romano cheese, and I'll put that over the top. A lot of people use mozzarella, which is great, don't get me wrong, which is really nice. But this is just a little different style. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so that's not hot, so I'm just going to put a little dent in there, put that in there. I want to get it all in there, so. And you can't, obviously, you can't put your eggs or anything in there because it's going to cook them. So, you don't want the eggs to cook. You want the eggs to harden, if you will, or solidify. So now I'm going to mix this nice and slow, get it all incorporated. That's beautiful. And then a nice little tool right there. It's an olive wood spatula from Italy, from the region where my house is. So it allows us to, when they take the trees at the beginning of the year and they prune them, you'll have a lot of craftsmen that'll actually take the olive wood, because a lot of it they burn to heat their homes, and the craftsmen will take the olive wood and make spatulas and spoons and beautiful bowls, and so beautiful. And if you care for them, they'll last you a lifetime. So, all right, so what I've got right there is just a beautiful mix of, oh, that's nice. And what I always like to do is stir it down, because what it does, it stirs the curd down, breaks the curd up a little bit of the ricotta cheese. So we're gonna, let's try that puppy right there. Oh my God, absolutely delicious. All right, so now here we go. Here's the fun. We've got to put a little bit of pepper in our mix, which I forgot, and then we've got to set up our dish. You know the advantage you have if you forget to put something in. So we got about quarter spoon. Is I'll have to stir that in and I have to taste it again. So it's perfecto. Try that again. Perfect. That's good. What I love about that, again, you can't even taste the nutmeg, but it has that nice deep kind of country flavor, if you will, which is just delicious. So I'm going to take a ladle. I'm going to take my sauce. I'm going to take my dish. Okay? And what I'm going to do is ladle this right here, just on the bottom, and I'm going to give it a bed of sauce to go into. That's it. It'll prevent it from sticking, obviously, which is one reason you do it. Second reason you do it, you got all this beautiful flavor. Now this is a basil sauce. So, and it's a sweet basil sauce. Oh my God, the sauce itself smells good. Let me see. Oh my God, it's delicious. So we're gonna take this, move my parsley off to the side, okay? And this is a part that's fun, but certainly is a little time consuming. So I'm gonna get a spoon, right? And I've got my shells, so just empty them out. And I'll do one or two here on the camera for you, and then I'll step back. Okay, and real easy, you're just gonna take the shell. Oh, there you go. Right? That's it, beautiful, okay? Okay guys, so here we go. So we've got a shell, and we're just gonna put that shell in there, that's it. So you're gonna just grab these individually, right? And then you're gonna take, now my recommendation is to try to do it over the cheese, right? And then you're gonna just set it right in there. Look at that, aren't they beautiful? They're like little babies, right? Isn't that cool? All right, and this smells, you know, that's a good quality pasta. So, you know, it's gonna be made primarily with semolina flour. So it's got a little bit of a good heartier flavor to it, okay? And then you're gonna set it. Now again, I talked about this a couple times already. It's perfect. Don't worry about them dripping out a little. They're gonna get hard inside because you've got the egg in there, okay? And again, you can use all different types of cheeses. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But traditionally, how we did it in our family is we didn't use, in this case, a lot of mozzarella because it was essentially a ricotta shell. Okay, so there you go, beautiful. And then we would cover it with a heavy amount of cheese. You're going to cover it with aluminum foil. You're going to let it cook. Now in this case, I like to let it cook about 20-25 minutes. Then I'll pull the foil off of it because I want the top to get a little bit drier and not necessarily crispy, but drier. And then when that happens, again, you're going to cover it with sauce. And then when you serve it, you're going to cover it with a splash of sauce, a little bit of cheese, and then hit it with a little parsley. And it's going to be great. So what I'll do is I'll fill these up. I'll tune back with you here in a few minutes when we put these guys in the oven. Oh, that guy was giving me a little trouble. And we'll go from there, okay? Okay guys, here we go. So we've got this loaded up. Now what I've got is some Parmesan and I've got some Romano, okay? So, and I apologize I didn't put that in the beginning because I always put it on the end. So I'm just gonna hit these a little bit. And I'm just gonna let them mix. And Parmesan's more creamy. It's gonna give it like a creamier feel to it. And remember, a lot of times people ask me about salt or different flavors. For example, in this case, we've already put basil in the ricotta, so if you're using a basil sauce, which is going to have oregano and thyme and rosemary and so forth, you don't want to go too heavy on that because then you're going to get it in your sauce and you're going to get it in the flavor of your ricotta. So the ricotta, in this case, you want it to have a little bit of an eggy flavor, like a deep, creamy, cheesy flavor. And again, I've seen a lot of people, and I've done it myself, you can put mozzarella within the cheese itself, and that's good. But in this case, we're going to make, as I said, really just a ricotta, a nice old-fashioned ricotta. And this is really how my grandmother would make it, so, which is great. And it's just going to give you that nice, real, true flavor. Oh, it's going to be great. So, you know, something like this, you can do an antipasto with olives, certainly some spreads of meat, which is really nice. This is going to go nice with a nice red wine, kind of a light wine. There you go, beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to mix that up. And it actually looks like there's more there just because of the, there you go, okay. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put a little bit, and I just want to hit each shell. So what's nice is some of these shells, you're going to see, there's a little opening, like a little crevice, and if you can, try to get it in that crevice because that'll hold it. Like, see that one right there? And that'll hold it, it'll get it right in there. Oh my God, can you just taste it right now? These are one of those dishes where you, my mouth is watering right now, where you have one and somebody's like, oh, have like 3 or 4, and you're like, no, you know, 2's good for me. And then you have 2, and then you have and then you have two more, and two more after that. Next thing you're sitting back like, oh my God, how did that happen? They're almost like gnocchis. Gnocchis are the same way. You just, oh my God. You don't want to have, okay, so see how nice that is? So again, remember the Romano and the Parmesan, they have salt in them as well. So, and they're gonna, oh, you can, I'll tell you that cheese right there. Oh, hold on one second. I just gotta make sure. That is just, oh my gosh. I didn't have any before I got started here. Oh yeah, that is great stuff. And remember, Romano's got a good salt and good bite to it. So that's gonna give it that edge, that little sharp edge. We've got the egg flavor in there. We've got all our Italian seasonings in there. So the flavors of Italy, a whole milk ricotta cheese with nutmeg in there and egg. Oh my God, it's gonna be delicious. So I've already set this at 350 degrees. Now I'm gonna put this over the top. And again, my advice to you is just put the top on so that it's gonna stay on, but don't seal it because you want the steam to come out. You just don't want the top to get brown or burn, okay? That's the only reason you're putting this on. It keeps the heat in there and the moisture and so forth, and the flavors are all gonna, if you will, boil in there, but you don't want the top to brown. So that's the only reason you're putting it on there. I got an electric oven here. You're always gonna wanna use the middle rack, and you're gonna push it all the way to the back. So push it all the way to the back of the oven, okay? And you're ready to go. So we're gonna let that set, because I got a nice bed of sauce in there. So we're gonna let that set for about 30-35 minutes. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my sauce on. Now I want this to be warm because this is what we're gonna use, obviously, to serve it, right? So put this on nice and slow and low, really low as you can get it. And again, if you can't get it really low, remember my little tip, you can always pull it off to the side so it just gets a bit. Remember to keep it stirring if your pot's thin on the bottom, it'll burn. Now this is going to be absolutely delicious. Real excited to share it, not only with you, but with my family. And I'll talk to you guys in a couple minutes. You guys ready? See how it's bubbling? That's beautiful. Oh yeah. Now there's going to be a little bit of moisture on there, which there is. Oh, that looks good. Okay? There's going to be a little moisture on there, but what I'm going to tell you is as soon as it starts to cool, everything is going to get firm anyway. So let me shut that off. Got the sounds of Frank going. Okay? I'm going to pull this across. Put those in there. Oh, this is going to be good. Okay, so I'm going to push this across. And I'm going to just take one of these guys out, all right? I'm going to take one of them, the one in the middle. Oh my gosh, that is just fantastic. All right, and then put a little sauce on there, which has all been warmed up. Okay. Okay. Wait, I want to plate it perfect. Hold on. Ooh. Okay, and then I'm going to get it with a little, this is my little parsley here. There you go, look at that. Gives it a nice little green contrast. Oh, that's good. Oh, look at that. Is that beautiful or is that beautiful? Hold on, hold on. I forgot to get my fork. Oh, I gotta tell you, the smell in here just with the sauce and the cheese, oh my gosh. Oh, look at that, look at that. Let me see, just comes out going. Oh, and you got that chewy cheese on the top that just got a little firm. Oh my God, my mouth is watering right now. That puppy's hot, I can feel it. Hold on a second. Oh, that's good. I'll tell you, the flavor of that cheese, and the sauce is perfect, it cuts it perfect. So we got the cheese with the egg in there, right? And we got just a nice hint of all those flavors of Italy, thyme and rosemary and basil and ricotta cheese with nutmeg. Oh my God. I'm gonna tell you what, that is gonna be in my belly in a few moments, okay? And what a beautiful layout. So what I'll do is let this cool just a little bit. And a lot of times I won't serve it on this. I'll actually gently scoop it out on one of my nice Italian platters. You can drizzle sauce over the top because you've already got a bed of sauce in here. And sprinkle with the parsley. Hit it with a little Romano and Parmesan cheese on the top if you choose. But I'll tell you, when I put that Romano and Parmesan on top, you've got that creamy, kind of salty bite that bites right into the other cheese. And then the al dente shell with the ricotta. Oh my God, absolutely delicious. Guys, such a great recipe from Old Italy, and certainly something I grew up with my parents making often, probably once a month. We'd always have stuffed shells. I used to make it down the restaurant with my dad. Absolutely delicious. And I'm always excited to bring those memories, certainly in those recipes, from my family to yours. Guys, don't forget, family's the soul of your life. Spend some time with your family. Hopefully enjoy the dish. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I got food in my mouth still. Sorry, I'm not supposed to talk with food in my mouth. But don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our page. And we got some great products coming out here over the next couple weeks. Talk to you guys next week.
It's the